All right, so communities are all the buzz right now. Since Alex Hormozy joined forces with the legendary Sam Ovens, everybody's talking about School, they're talking about Circle, they're talking about Mighty Networks and how you need to go start a community. It's the easiest business model you could start. Well, I'm going to tell you something that you need to avoid. Otherwise, you are going to absolutely hate the community that you build. And I know this from firsthand experience because that's kind of what I did the very first round of creating a community. I actually have two communities right now. I have one that's on Mighty Networks and one that is on School. One is called the Beyond the Apex Accelerator, and the other one doesn't really even have a name, as it's just kind of it's where people who would buy the hyper-focused masterclass, they automatically gained entrance into this community. So there's some people who paid to be there, but it's also a free community. So if you go to my main channel, you go look in the description, you can find a link to it. You can go join it for free. There's some free content in there, but I haven't put a lot of time and energy into that. It was just kind of a byproduct for the people who joined the hyper-focused masterclass, for them to have a little community aspect. Now, that group has about 2,500 members in it, and the School community has about 20. Okay, so very, very different types of community, very different goals and objectives. And I want to walk you through the two different types, why I abandoned the one, why I don't enjoy it, and why I put all my time and energy into the other, and why it's awesome, and the lessons that you can learn as a result. So when I started, I started creating content. I didn't really have any objective in terms of monetizing it. I was creating content because I wanted to build brand that then I could use later to leverage into different business opportunities as I'm launching a program, launching a product, or whatever. Like if I launch my next book, one of my deep-seated goals is to hit #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. And part of that is have an audience. So when I create content, I'm thinking about it in terms of just building goodwill with you so that when my next book comes out, maybe, just maybe, you want to go buy it, right? That was really the extent of the thought process that I had around creating content initially in terms of how to monetize it. Well, at some point, I became really surprised by the fact that a lot of people resonated with my message around ADHD, around focus, around the systems and processes that have allowed me to harness that. And so I created a little course. It's not actually very little. It's pretty big. There's like 50 modules in there. It's pretty in depth. It's called the Hyper Focus Masterclass. And it's all about all the things that I've learned about initiating the flow state on command. It's all about the systems and processes that allow me to be effective, right? So I package that all up, I put it together, and I sell it. I think it's like $100. If you're, a subscriber to my newsletter, the Hyper Focused Entrepreneur, you can get it for like $50, like on your onboarding process. I'm like, here, go get it. It's awesome, right? So I put out that product. I never really pushed it very hard. It's just there. You'll notice I don't talk about it very frequently on this podcast even. It's there for people to discover. If they have a problem, it's a solution to it. Cool. I don't make millions off of that. It's not the end goal by any means. Well, I put that on Mighty Networks, and people are paying between $50 and $100 for that course. But then there's also a free component for people that can just join the Mighty Network, and they can see all the different courses and whatnot. And maybe that entices them to want to buy it at some point. And they're like, oh, that looks awesome. I want that. There's also some free stuff in there. But what I realized was I hate that model. I hated the model of having a free community. I hated the people that were attracted to being in a free community. I disliked the people who weren't willing to pay money to show up and be part of something. There's something about people who are unwilling to invest in themselves, in their education, in their network, and in coaching that just, it drives me bananas. And it's so popular in the space, I think, of the internet these days. There's a lot of gurus like me who, preach coaching and their programs, right? So it's rightful for you to be skeptical, but you don't just throw out the baby with the bathwater. And there are people that just refuse to pay money for anything in terms of investing in themselves. And what I found was that the quality of the demographic that was attracted to the free thing was very, very low. And so initially, high quality people might go in there and they might be interested, but then they see all the low quality people and they go, no, this isn't for me. And this is very, very important, is that the average of the room always reverts to the mean. So what that means is if you're in a room full of geniuses, you're going to get pulled up to the average of the geniuses, right? If you're in a room full of idiots, you get pulled down to the room, to the average of the idiots. Now, the room full of idiots drives away the room full of geniuses. The high caliber, awesome people that want to be in that room, they come in there, and if they see a lot of low quality people, they go, this isn't for me. And it's funny because I had to relearn this lesson. This was the second time I learned this. The first time I learned this was when I started investing in real estate and I started going to local meetups. right? The free meetups where you would go and they'd have a speaker, you'd meet the other people that are local in the market, right? Free. You just show up and you network. What I found was that those events had like zero value. Because all the people you would meet there was like 98% of them were tire kickers, people that were entrepreneurs. They wanted to get into real estate, but they didn't actually have any experience. And maybe 2% of them actually did have experience, but you could never find them. You're like, where are the people that actually have value here? So then what I learned was there's actually more value in paying large sums of money to go to conferences, to go to events, to go to these exclusive opportunities, because the price of admission is a filter that shows you how serious somebody is. If somebody's willing to pay $1,000 to go to an event, you're like, cool, they have the money and they're willing to invest in themselves. That's the type of person that I want to be around. Now, in the beginning, if you don't have money, if you don't have resources, you got to go to the free events and just you make magic out of nothing, right? That's where you start. But as you have more money, you don't just exchange your time, which is what you're giving when you go to a free event, and now you just exchange your money to ensure that your time is well spent when you go to those things. And so what I had unknowingly done with that hyper-focused masterclass and that Mighty Networks community is I had built that low-value community that high-value people are instantly turned away from. And as a result, people are in there, they get value, and they're great people. Don't get me wrong, but they're not the people that I want to surround myself with. That's where the school community came in. And that's where Beyond the Apex, the accelerator comes in. I love working with entrepreneurs who already have some level of traction. I don't like working with people on the 0 to 1. I don't like helping people go from just starting their first business to $10,000 a month, because that's pretty damn easy in the grand scheme of things. And if you can't figure that out, I'm not going to be able to help you, right? There's all the free content I put out. If you're starting off and you're at 0, go consume the free content. That will get you to $10,000 a month. I like working with the people who are doing $100,000 a year in revenue and helping them go to $1 million or $10 million. I love those people because they're in the fight. They're dealing with all the things, and I know how to solve those problems. So the Beyond the Apex Accelerator is for those 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs who are trying to make the jump to 7 and 8 figures and beyond. And so I'm very exclusive about who I let into that program. I vet them. I make sure that they are the person that I can actually help, that I want to be around, that they are a value add for everybody else in the community. I keep it very small, and it's very high price. It's a high ticket item that you have to be willing to commit. And if you're not, then that's fine. The free stuff is still there for you, but you're not going to get access to this community. And so that's how I think about communities. I'm not a big fan of the free ones. I'm more of a fan of making people pay, because I believe the transformation occurs at transaction. A lot of the value somebody gets paying, say, $10,000 to be in a community is knowing, hey, all the other people in here also paid $10,000 to be here. It's an instant validator. So that's how I think about communities. Don't make the mistakes that I have made unless you're starting off and that's the only option that you have, and you just got to make do with what you got, and no fault to you. But I had to learn that the hard way, and yeah, that's all I got. I appreciate you guys checking out the podcast. If you are interested, if you think it would be a good fit for Beyond the Apex Accelerator, go to beyondtheapex.com and fill out the application. If you're a good fit, I'll be in touch. We'll have a chat and see if you can cut it, and if you can, we'll take the next steps. Otherwise, keep enjoying the free content, my brothers and sisters. I'll see you in the next episode.